These 10 car brands could disappear forever, and some might not even make it to 2028. If you own one, your resale value, warranty support, and even replacement parts could get a lot harder to find. One of these companies has already started pulling out of major markets. Another is burning through billions just to stay alive. A third could be facing regulation that pushes it out of an entire country. By the time we hit number 1, you'll understand why a name you probably trust is standing on the edge of a cliff it built for itself. Let's start the countdown at number 10. Number 10, Mitsubishi. Believe it or not, Mitsubishi once built cars that dominated rally racing and sold in the millions worldwide. Today, it holds less than 1% of the US market, and it has already walked away from China entirely, the world's biggest car market, because it simply couldn't compete anymore. Buyers remember the Evo and the Eclipse. What they're getting now is a lineup that hasn't meaningfully evolved in years. Consumer Reports and JD Power surveys consistently place the brand near the bottom for innovation and long-term value retention. And independent reliability studies show Mitsubishi trailing most of its mainstream competitors on tech features buyers now consider standard, like advanced driver assistance and modern infotainment. The main cause is money. Mitsubishi doesn't have the cash reserves to fund a real EV push, so it's stuck selling aging platforms into a market racing past it. For owners, that means fewer updates, fewer trims, and a resale value that keeps eroding as buyers question the brand's future. Dealers are already feeling it. Inventory sits longer, incentives get bigger, and profit margins keep shrinking on every unit sold. When a company retreats from its biggest market on earth, that's not a warning shot. That's a company already in survival mode. And the next brand on our list is in survival mode too, just in a much quieter, more embarrassing way. Number 9, Infiniti. Here's the crazy part. Infiniti was supposed to be Nissan's answer to Lexus. Instead, it's become the luxury brand nobody's talking about. Models like the Q50 and QX60 have gone years with outdated interiors and tech that feels a full generation behind rivals like Genesis and Lexus. Buyers walk into the showroom expecting excitement. What they find are aging designs and flat sales numbers that dealers quietly dread reporting. JD Power ownership satisfaction scores have shown Infiniti consistently trailing the segment average, and foot traffic at dealerships keeps dropping year over year. Some regional dealer groups have already started folding Infiniti showrooms into their Nissan lots entirely, which tells you exactly how much confidence is left in the badge standing on its own. The main cause is neglect. Nissan has poured its resources elsewhere, leaving Infiniti to coast on old bones. For owners, that translates into a badge losing prestige fast, and prestige is the entire reason people buy luxury in the first place. Trade-in values on older Infiniti models have slipped noticeably compared to Lexus and Acura equivalents, which only makes the badge feel less special every time someone tries to sell. A quiet death is still a death, and the next name on this list has a problem that's anything but quiet. Number 8, Lincoln. Lincoln has the full weight of Ford behind it, and it's still losing. Here's the twist. Despite that backing, Lincoln's lineup has quietly shrunk to almost nothing outside of SUVs, and the brand now leans almost entirely on the Navigator to carry its image. Buyers expect a real rival to Cadillac and Genesis. Instead, they find a thin lineup and dealer lots stacked with unsold inventory. Ford's own sales reports have shown Lincoln's global volume sitting a fraction of what German luxury rivals move in a single quarter, and Lincoln no longer even sells a traditional sedan in the US market, leaving it completely dependent on SUV buyers to carry the entire brand. The cause isn't lack of resources, it's a lack of priority. Ford appears to be focusing its investment on its core truck and EV lineup, leaving Lincoln to compete with what's left over. And industry watchers have pointed out the brand hasn't launched a genuinely new model architecture in years, relying instead on updated versions of existing platforms. For owners, that means slower updates, a shrinking dealer network, and depreciation that hits harder than it should for a luxury badge. 20 years ago, Lincoln Town Cars were the standard for American luxury on every airport curb in the country. Today, most buyers under 30 couldn't name a single current Lincoln model. And speaking of brands losing direction, wait until you see one that reversed its entire future plan overnight. Number 7. Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo promised buyers an all-electric future by 2027, then it quietly walked the whole plan back. Buyers were told to expect a fully electric lineup. Instead, cooling EV demand forced the brand to pivot back to gas and hybrid models just to keep dealers stocked. US sales numbers tell the real story. Alfa Romeo remains one of the smallest volume brands sold in America, moving a tiny fraction of what mainstream competitors sell in a single month. The main cause is Stellantis uncertainty. The parent company has been slow, indecisive, and inconsistent about which brands get real investment. For owners, that kind of about-face makes it nearly impossible to trust where the brand is headed, or whether support will even exist in 5 years. Ironically, the cars themselves aren't even the biggest problem here. Alfa's driving dynamics still earn praise from reviewers. It's the boardroom indecision that's putting the badge at risk, but disappearing because of indecision at home is one thing. Disappearing because you can't gain traction anywhere in the world, that's exactly what's happening next. If even one of these brands has surprised you so far, hit subscribe, because later this week we're exposing the reliable brands quietly costing owners thousands in repairs after 100,000 miles. Now, back to the countdown, because it's about to get a lot more brutal. Number 6. VinFast. VinFast wanted to become the next global EV powerhouse, going head-to-head with Tesla within just a few years. Instead, it's fighting to survive outside its home country. Here's the twist most people miss. VinFast is backed by one of Vietnam's richest conglomerates, yet even that kind of money hasn't been enough to overcome weak brand recognition and brutal competition on every front. Every new market the company enters comes loaded with startup costs that legacy automakers finished paying off decades ago. The brand's international sales numbers remain a tiny fraction of its ambitious targets, and cash burn keeps climbing even as the company pours money into new factories and dealership expansion abroad, betting on volume it hasn't proven it can generate yet. For anyone considering ownership, that instability means real risk around long-term support, service networks, and resale value if expansion doesn't stabilize soon. This isn't a slow decline, it's a race against the clock with global stakes. The irony is brutal. VinFast offers some of the most aggressive warranty terms in the industry, designed specifically to win over skeptical buyers, and it's still not enough to close the trust gap a brand new automaker faces every single day. But losing a financial race is nothing compared to a brand that might lose the legal right to sell cars in an entire country. Number 5. Rivian. Rivian looked like the future of American trucks, backed by billions from Amazon and a major partnership with Volkswagen. Here's the twist: that support hasn't stopped the cash burn. Massive manufacturing costs and high interest rates have pushed real profitability further away than investors were promised, and the company's cash runway remains a constant topic of concern on every earnings call, with analysts routinely questioning how many more quarters of losses the company can absorb before it needs another capital raise. Imagine paying $75,000 for an R1S today, only to spend the next 5 years wondering whether the company that built it will even be around to service it. Buyers believed Rivian would scale fast and bring prices down across the lineup. Instead, production costs have kept the company bleeding money quarter after quarter, even with two of the biggest names in tech and auto standing behind it. Everything now rides on the upcoming R2, a lower-priced SUV that genuinely has to succeed, or the entire company's future gets shaky fast. Believe it or not, Rivian's order backlog once numbered in the tens of thousands before deliveries even began. Proof the demand is real. The problem was never interest. It's turning that interest into a profitable vehicle at scale. Amazon and Volkswagen's money bought Rivian time, not certainty. And certainty is exactly what our next brand lost when the math on its own price tag stopped making sense. Number 4. Maserati. Here's the number that says it all. A brand new Maserati Ghibli can lose more than half its value in just a few years, meaning today's $120,000 Maserati could be worth less than a loaded Toyota SUV before the loan is even paid off. Global deliveries have been cut nearly in half, and Stellantis keeps delaying the investment Maserati desperately needs to modernize. Buyers expect cutting-edge luxury tech at this price point. Instead, they're getting aging platforms with none of the EV upgrades rivals like like Porsche now ship standard. Stellantis executives have openly admitted the marketing budget simply hasn't been there to support the brand, and industry analysts have pointed out that Maserati now sells fewer cars annually than some single high-volume dealership's move of a mainstream brand in the same period. For owners, that means depreciation numbers that would make anyone wince, and a lineup that ages by the month while competitors sprint ahead. 20 years ago, this badge meant Italian exotic performance that rivaled Ferrari's little brother. Now it means a company running out of runway with its parents' blessing to keep stalling. Here's the twist that stings the most. Maserati was once profitable enough to fund its own engine development in-house. Now it can't even get a firm answer on when its next real product update is coming, and the next brand on this list didn't lose value slowly. It detonated almost overnight. Number 3. Jaguar. Jaguar didn't just struggle. It blew up its own business on purpose. The brand launched a bold rebrand, gutting its classic lineup in the process, and the result was a sales crash of nearly 98% across parts of Europe during the transition. Here's the crazy part. Several dealers have reportedly raised alarms over the transition, worried they wouldn't have enough inventory left to survive it. Buyers expected evolution. What they got was an identity crisis with almost nothing left to buy in the meantime. The math is brutal. Fewer models means fewer sales, and fewer sales means dealer networks struggling to justify staying open, with several dealerships reportedly cutting staff or dropping the brand entirely rather than ride out the transition. For anyone who already owns a Jaguar, that means harder to find parts, shakier resale value, and a brand betting its entire future on buyers who haven't even shown up yet. 20 years ago, a Jaguar in the driveway meant you'd made it. Today, some showrooms have reportedly gone weeks without a single walk-in sale. This is one of the most self-inflicted collapses in modern automotive history, but betting everything on a rebrand is nothing compared to a brand that might lose the right to sell cars at all. Number 2. Polestar. Polestar isn't just struggling, it may be forced out by law. New regulations targeting connected vehicles with ties to China have put Polestar directly in the crosshairs, and reports suggest the brand could dramatically scale back or even exit its US retail presence after the 2027 model year if the current rules stay in place. Let that sink in. This wouldn't be slow decline from bad sales or a botched rebrand. This would be regulation cutting a brand off from an entire country's market. Buyers thought they were investing in a rising EV star with real global momentum. Instead, they could be left holding a car with a shrinking local support network and an uncertain resale path in the country they bought it in. The company is already burning cash at a pace that would worry any automaker, and a reduced US presence would hit right when it needs that market most to reach any kind of sustainable scale, especially with global EV competition tightening from every direction. Sales problems can be fixed with a better lineup. A regulatory wall can't be fixed with a marketing campaign, but even that isn't as heavy as watching a 100-year-old American name get reduced to almost nothing. Let's finish this countdown at number 1. Number 1. Chrysler. Chrysler once helped invent the minivan, clawed its way back from near bankruptcy with the K car in the 1980s, and built the 300 into one of the most recognizable American sedans on the road. Today, the brand is down to essentially one model in showrooms, and even that lineup hasn't seen a real redesign in years. Buyers walk into a Chrysler dealership expecting a real brand. What they find is a single product trying to justify an entire dealer network's existence. Stellantis has openly discussed streamlining its portfolio of brands, and Chrysler keeps coming up as one of the most vulnerable names on that list. The cause isn't a lack of history, it's a lack of product. No company survives on one vehicle forever, no matter how loyal its remaining buyers are. For owners, that means a shrinking dealer network, harder to find service support, and a resale value that keeps sliding as fewer people even consider the badge a real option anymore, especially with newer, better-funded competitors filling the same price bracket. Here's the moment that should make you pause. This is a company that once helped put an entire generation of American families on the road. Now it's fighting just to keep a single model alive long enough to justify its own existence. Every other brand on this list is struggling to grow. Chrysler is struggling just to still exist by the time this decade ends, and that's exactly why it tops this list. 10 brands, 10 completely different ways of running out of road, bad bets, broken trust, and in one case, a 100-year-old name reduced to a single model. 5 years from now, some of these logos may only exist in museums and collector garages. You now know more about where this industry is really headed than most car shoppers walking into a dealership today, and that kind of knowledge is exactly what keeps you from making a $40,000 mistake on a badge that might not be around to back it up. So tell us in the comments, which of these 10 brands do you think disappears first? Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, because our next video exposes the reliable brands quietly costing owners thousands in repairs after 100,000 miles.